I'm going to take us to the fifth critical choice.
Yeah.
I would keep our conversation going, but I promised you that I would get you out at a certain time. So the fifth critical choice I made, how about this? The fifth critical choice that I make, because it's a very present day ongoing thing, is to embrace my boundless capacity to give love, the verb, to give love, and my boundless capacity to receive the love that others want to give me.
Right.
And for me, those four choices that we just went through, I took us through that chronologically and linear because that was my journey. Because I had to go through those four in order to get to the fifth.
Right. Right.
But I believe like if people just start with the fifth, that truly is where enduring success begins to be created and flourish. So I want to dive into this with you a little bit.
Yeah.
And when I say giving love, I don't mean love the emotion. I do mean love the action, love the verb. And that might manifest in different ways for different people, which is part of what I want to get your perspective on.
Yeah.
So first off, when I say giving all your love, what do you think about that? How do you react to that? And is there an example where you would say, here's a time in which I purposely and deliberately did not withhold. I gave all of my love. I think you do it all the time.
I was just going to say, on the one hand, I think when I think of that question, it feels a bit overwhelming, right? Like, oh my gosh, can I think of a time? On the other hand, to your point, I do think that when you really think about it, I think for me, it's something I do a lot. And this isn't necessarily, again, you're saying love is an action. So it's not necessarily what people might think of as love.
Right.
But one of the things I do, and I think of it as love, so put it that way, that's the JD definition of love, is I am a firm believer that every single person has something awful that they're dealing with. And that may sound very negative and very jaded, but I mean it to be very, frankly, true. Yeah. And I feel like people on this earth have the ability to make other people's loads a little lighter or to find a way to make their day a little brighter, right? So I'm going to give you a silly example.
Yes,
I'm going to give you a silly example. And again, people wouldn't think of it as giving love, but it's something that's always been very important to me. And some of my Jenny friends have experienced me doing this. My family has experienced me doing this, and it makes them crazy. So let's say my family and I were out at a restaurant for dinner and we're talking, and I see a woman over at a table and I love her blouse. And I see another woman and maybe I love her shoes or I love her hair. It could be as crazy as I was on a Jenny conference one time and it was the concierge's cheekbones, right? But I make it a point to tell them. I make it a point to tell that person. And it can be uncomfortable sometimes. And again, I'm like, oh, probably shouldn't have done that. That person thinks I'm a weirdo. And so I'm not saying I don't care, but I'm never going to not take that opportunity to just say, hey, I couldn't help but notice this. And even more meaningful if I've been, again, in an interaction with a group of people and somebody has said something that's really been impactful or meaningful. And maybe I don't know them, but even, better is to be able to go up to them and go, oh my God, what you said really resonated with me. I think those simple everyday actions, I can't tell you how many women I've either complimented their cheekbones, their eyebrows, their top, their laugh, right? But that will literally stop and go, oh my God, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be a weirdo, but literally my family's over there going, oh my God, she's doing it.
Oh my God. Here goes Jeri Dawn again. Mom, stop.
But I think it makes me feel good that I see someone else light up. Again, lighten their load, brighten their day. I don't know why more people don't do that. Yeah.
If this is like the one shout out of this conversation, lighten the load, brighten their day, Why don't more people just do that? JD, your example of giving love, I appreciate it for a couple of reasons. One is because I think it's really sweet. The
And very
cheekbone
embarrassing
thing,
for the
I think,
family,
is
which is kind of an
really
advantage.
funny. So 3 things. 2, I like the practicality of it, because so often people ask me, especially in a business environment, well, like, what's an example of giving love? And I always turn that question back to them.
Mhm.
And I say, what is an example of giving love in your world, in
Right.
your environment? Like,
Right.
and the practicality of the action
Yeah.
of giving and giving love by giving that compliment. Here's the third thing that comes to my mind. The third reason that I just think the example is awesome is, I bet, so I'll say for me, there are times that I want to compliment somebody and I don't, because I fear, am I going to embarrass my daughter? Or what if I overstep with that person? Or what if they think, who am I to compliment them?
Mm-hmm.
So I withhold that love.
Mm-hmm.
I withhold doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But if I didn't,
Right.
I could brighten that day.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's a choice for you not to withhold that. You think it and you choose to act on it.
Yep. Yep.
And to me, that is an example of choosing to give all of your love.
Right.
And it's, go on, because I'm going to ask you another question.
Okay. Go for it.
No, keep going. Keep going.
Okay.
What were you going to say?
Well, it's a really funny experience. And it's sometimes, again, it's gone south because, number one, again, if I'm sitting with it's always when I'm with my family too, they're like, oh God. And
with
they
your
literally,
sons?
yeah, my God, my sons, my husband. And they literally, the minute I go, oh my God, check out blah, blah, blah. Isn't her hair beautiful or whatever? And they literally are all like, oh my God, she's going to do
here we
again.
go.
Right. But what I'm realizing as I'm telling you this example, which is interesting, is, of course, and now that I'm realizing it, I never do it to guys. Partially because, again, it can be misconstrued.
Yeah,
but I also believe, and it's never been this much of a conscious thing for me, as far as why I do it, it's really to brighten someone's day. But now that I'm realizing it's always women, again, it could be coming from a place of, I know with me, with so many, and again, with the industry, with so many women having issues with the aesthetic pieces, right?
I'm not the not enoughs.
Right. But I also, the thing that I always make clear when I share this story with anybody, because again, it drives my family crazy, is it's not just complimenting for the sake of complimenting. I mean, it needs to be something that stands out. So there have been times, there was a time a couple years ago that I went to a group of women and I called out something about one woman, right? And she was very much like, oh my God, did you hear what she said? And it was very sweet. She gave me a hug. But we walk out of the restaurant and my family was like, great. Now the other 4 women are like, what's wrong? She didn't say anything nice about me. I'm like, so then of course you're like, oh no, wait, what have I done? But I'm like,
you couldn't, but it
I
would
wasn't
be
doing it just
against
to do it.
your,
I was,
exactly.
I'm doing it because it stuck out for me, right? Or it resonated with me. And again, sometimes it's a laugh, it's, a smile, it's So anyway, just had to share.
I think it's awesome. I'm going to ask you one more question before I wrap us up, and I'm put this in the love. For sure, this is a part of our giving love, receiving love. There are times, there's many times that people try to give us their love, and perhaps we choose not to receive it all.
Right.
Just give me your perspective on the idea of receiving love. And again, not love the emotion, but love the action from other people. Do you embrace it just as much as giving?
It is interesting. It's tough for me. Again, not love the emotion is not tough for me, but love the action. So again, for me, that can be, someone complimenting me or again, one of my leaders saying, I wouldn't be the leader I am today if it weren't for you. And I'm very big on, oh my gosh, I may have given you tools and support to help you get there, but you're the one that chose to apply them, right? So I'm very leery to take credit because I thoroughly believe that you can train everybody over and over and over. But at the end of the day, it's those that take that training and do something with it that are successful. So they deserve the credit for that, right? So I'm very weird again when it comes to compliments. I tend to be like, But I think when it comes to really rich discussions, I mean, obviously with my family that I keep talking about, they make it very clear how much they love me and they compliment me and I take it in, right? I think with my direct reports as far as leaders, when we've had really, really deep conversations about the business or skills or attributes, I've learned to really kind of say, okay, I'm glad that you feel that I was able to help you with that. Rather than arguing all the time and going, oh, that's not me, that was you. Oh my God, you did that, right? It's like, and I've had a few leaders over the years that have said, stop it. Like take the credit.
Let me give. Right.
So,
let me give.
Right, exactly. So I think I am, when it comes to those things, I do think I do tend to be a little resistant to receiving it, and I can do better with that. So I'll make a two-way commitment with you right now that I'll start doing.
Yes. Yes. And take note of when you do.
Right.
And take note of when you start feeling like, oh, I can't accept that.
Right.
And just take note of when you do.
Yeah.
Because I appreciate it. I appreciate where you're coming from. I think someone who gives so much like you do, it's not surprising to me that it's more difficult to receive.
Right.
But I do believe when we choose to receive what the other person wants to give, we actually, like, that's a manifestation of love.
Right.
Because they feel so filled up and fulfilled by giving.
Right.
Thank you for joining me for our Choose and Become interview series. You could find this episode and others at trishkendall.com. Just go to trishkendall.com/choose-become-interview-series. Or if you have a question or just want to leave a comment, email me, trish@trishkendall.com.